Hello, everybody. It is Jackie from Pocket of Preschool, and tonight we are talking all about assessments, student portfolios, and taking data to make it not so painful, both for you and for your students. Because we all know assessments and portfolios need to guide our teaching, but they can sometimes be pretty horrible to do in the classroom, especially when you have the littlest of learners. So I'm going to tell you all my tips and tricks. And this will be probably a 2 or 3 part series. So make sure you stay tuned for the next one, or if you're watching the recording, watch the next one. So again, this will probably be a 3-part series. So tonight we're going to focus on assessments. And then next week we will focus on student portfolios. And I'll show you some of mine. And then the last week we'll go in depth about my data binder, which is what I use literally. Well, I'm not teaching this year, but I would literally use it almost every single day teaching, and I would 100% use it lesson planning. So, and it will make your life so much easier, I promise. So in the comments, I want you to tell me what your best tip or trick is for assessments or portfolios, organizations, something. Tell us in the comments so we can learn from each other too. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. So tonight we're gonna focus all about assessments on this one, and how to make them not so horrible. Because assessments need to guide our teaching. We need to know where kids are in order to plan the lesson on where to take them next. We need to know what level they're at independently and what level they're at with assistance. Again, so we can plan appropriately. Because if we're not using the assessments that we take in our classroom to guide our teaching, there's no point in doing them. So let me tell you how to make it not so horrible, because believe it or not, I love data, and I know that some people don't, but I do, and I think it's magical if you can make it not horrible to implement in your classroom. So links to all the things. So where all the links are, you will find a link to all of my assessment portfolio data binder, all of that. You'll also have links to my website, so that way you can kind of see it more in depth and in action. So if you want to see more, check that out. So my biggest thing to say is do what works for you in your classroom to make it not as much of a headache for you. Because again, since we have little learners, clearly they are not able to read yet. So there's a lot of stuff, and a lot you're doing by observing. And I'm going to show you how to keep it in one nice place. So without further ado, my data binder, this is where I keep everything in. Okay, literally all the things. I have tabs. The first one is my student skills, which is, here, let me show you. Well, let me get a blank one out. Hold on. So this is my individual skill sheet. So you can, there would be a student name at the top, and it literally has all the skills that the students are going to be doing throughout the year. Now, the reason why they're color-coded is I do assessments each quarter. Well, kind of each quarter. So I make sure to assess each skill each time. So I try and assess everything in August, September, and then I assess again in October, November, December. So kind of like second quarter. And then I assess again in January, February before parent-teacher conferences. And then I assess everything again in March, April. So I try and hit everything in all those timing periods. So, and then each one of those is a different color. So like August and September is pink. So if it's pink, I know that's when they got that skill in August. Here's an example, down here, I have writing, or counting. So in August, they were rote counting to 11, and then 13. Oh, and I did May as purple, by the way. So I can kind of see how they're growing. Okay, so that's the first section. And then the next sections are my group assessments. And so this is where I'm going to write all of the assessment data that I'm doing. And again, I'll do a whole video just on this. But hold on one second. Just put some tape down the middle, so we can't see names. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, but I do have, by the way, all the information I'm sharing, I do have permission from all these families, just so you know. So this is kind of like a class at a glance. I have my 3 and 4-year-olds at the top, my pre-K kiddos at the bottom, so I can kind of easily differentiate, because again, I'm using this to guide my lesson planning, to make my small groups, all of that. So like this one's identifies letters. This says knows across the top. I'm going to read it to you. So knows, like, can identify name and print, identifies letters in their name, identifies some letters, and identifies all letters. So you can see I have all different colors because we're at all different levels, or that's not all my students are at all different levels, but that just shows that each quarter they're growing, right? This is also a great way to see if your students are not growing. Okay. So I keep all of my data in here, okay? But now today, I wanted to show you that real quick. But this video, we're gonna talk all about the actually like doing the assessments, okay? And how to do them. So there's a couple different kinds of assessments, right? We have formal assessments and informal assessments. So formal assessments are those one-on-one planned activities. And I also like quick learning checks, which I'll tell you what those are in a minute. Those are all like your formal assessments, or any kind of like test students are taking, or developmental test. And then there's informal assessments. So those are all of your observations, all your work samples, your portfolios, anything that students create or do. Those are your informal assessments. So you want to have a little bit of both. Most of my assessments I try and do as a small group, or do through quick learning checks. If I see, but then there's some you have to do one-on-one, like identifies letters, identifies numbers. Those you have to do one-on-one. So let me show you how I do that. So I have an assessment binder, and this has all of my charts and everything in here, okay? So that way, if I'm pulling students to do an assessment, and I try, in my lesson plans, I try and do 2 assessments a week, and maybe I'm focusing on counting and identifying letters this week. Now, August, I kind of try and squeeze in a lot, because I want to see the skill level they're coming at in, so that way I can see how much they've grown. Plus, I need to know where they are so I can plan all the things, so they're not frustrated with the activities I'm planning. So, but otherwise, once you get back through August, I try and do 2 assessments a week. So, my data binder, and then I also have like a little bucket of fun. Okay, I have all of it ready to go, so that way I'm not like grabbing things from all the places, so I can do it quickly as possible, because, you know, their attention span is this big. So in here, I have the same things, but they're just a different way. So different kids need different assessments, because again, kids are different. So I have, for example, like a chart in here on identifies letters. For a 3-year-old, you could say, oh, if you would point to them, that would be way overwhelming, okay? Now, if you have a pre-K friend and they can identify most of the letters, I use this, and I just show 1 row at a time, and I have them point and tell me. Now, again, if I have a 3-year-old, or if I have a pre-K friend who doesn't know a lot of these letters, this is going to be way too overwhelming. They're going to shut down, and they're probably not even going to try, right? Because that looks like way too much. So in my little tub, I also have letter cards. So that way there's 1 letter. If the student wants to hold it, they can. Oh, I got my notes in front. Sorry. So I have my cards, and that way, again, they're only looking at the one thing. They can turn them if they want. I can turn them. Yeah. And I have them numbered, so that way they're in the same order as in my data binder. So they're in the same order on here as on my chart, so that way I can literally mark them off as I go, right? So again, I don't like to do one-on-one assessments, but like identifies letters, identifies shapes, colors, identifies numbers, those you have to do one-on-one. So again, I use either the flashcards or the charts, and I have uppercase, I have a lowercase, and then what I do is, if you don't want to use the data binder, again, different teachers like different things. What I do is right behind that, I have my checklist. So as the students are saying them, I also have my colored pens in here too. So let's say I have a kiddo and they are doing the uppercase, and they're telling me the letters, and all I'm doing is I'm flipping them, and then I'm marking, yep, they got that one, they got that one. He said F for that one, so I'm gonna write that in the corner. Okay, so if you wanna write it on a separate page, you can, okay? And then again, we're just gonna keep going. They said that one is I, so I'm gonna mark that down, okay? So again, it's super, super quick. I have the lowercase at the bottom. If students do not know half of the uppercase or a good, I would say about half, I skip the lowercase. Because if they only know 2 uppercase letters, I guarantee you they don't know any lowercase letters, because uppercase letters are all over our environment. So if they don't know those uppercase, they won't know those lowercase, so I'm not gonna stress them out. So we may just be doing the uppercase with my 3-year-olds, and then once they get half of those, then we'll assess the lowercase. Because if they don't have the hard one skill, we're not gonna assess the harder skill, because that's pointless, waste of time for you and for them. Okay, so I have all these cards in here, because again, different kids, different assessments. Once they know a lot of the letters, they're probably gonna point through, and this will be like so much faster. But a 3-year-old, they're gonna need individual cards so there's not too much information overwhelming them, okay? So I'm gonna keep that out for a minute. And again, I keep a lot of this in here. Pick the assessments that you use and keep them so you don't have to go all the places to get them. I also have a beginning sound chart. And again, I have these in the back that I pull out and I can mark. So if I'm having them one-on-one, tell me the sounds. And again, I also have them as a card so I can do that. And then I'm writing down on this page. And again, I just pull it out. It has a name on it. Maybe I can pull it out. So I'm just gonna pull this out. And they're gonna either tell me by looking at the chart or looking at the flashcards, and I'm just gonna mark, okay? I'm just gonna go through all the things. And these are just beginning sounds. And then I have more assessments in here. Now the other assessments, besides, and I also have identifies numbers, and I have numbers 1 through 10, and I have numbers 1 through 20, because if they don't know numbers 1 through 10, they will not know the teen number, so I'm not stressing them or me out. Also, I have colors in here, and I have I have a shape chart in here as well. But again, I also have them as flashcards. So that way, all of them, I have all of them. Okay, and I even have some sight words in there too, in case. I don't assess sight words, again, as a preschool, pre-K, but my upper grade teachers may. So those are in there for you. Now, there are other assessments in here, like I have rhyming, and I have opposites, and I have syllables. If you're kind of curious at what level a student is at, I do more one-on-one assessments with them. So maybe like one day they can, and one day they can't, another day they can, and another day they can't do a skill. Like let's say rhyme. One day they can rhyme, one day no. One day they can rhyme, one day no. I will sit down with them and I will do a rhyming assessment with them. Now again, I have a couple different kinds. So tree rhymes with, and they have to identify, or I have cards so that way they can match the cards. And then also what rhymes with ball. So the 3 different levels. Can they identify a rhyme? Can they make up their own rhyme? All the different levels. So, but again, I only do one-on-one assessments on the other skills if I have to, or if I'm confused on where a kiddo is, or I can't really figure them out yet, right? So again, I do the least amount of one-on-one as I possibly can, because I want to do a lot of my assessments through play. So let me show you how I do that. So that's the assessment binder. And again, I do this mostly with identifies letters, identifies colors, sounds, numbers, and shapes. Okay, that's that. Save that for a minute. Okay, let me put that in there. All right, so now we've done those one-on-one assessments, right? So now we gotta figure, and then these manipulatives in here, or if I need to assess like patterns or sorting. And again, I have these sorting bears. There are 3 different sizes. Cubes, because you can do measurement or counting, and with my pen, so that way again I have all my assessments ready to go if I need to assess a student one-on-one. So now the other assessments I try and do during either small group or as quick learning checks. So in school, we always learn that, or at least I did, do an obstacle course, and then you can assess everyone's gross motor skills. No, you can't, because you're managing the obstacle course. So, because like, this hula hoop's flying over here, so-and-so needs help crawling through a tube, someone needs help throwing the ball, all the things. Like, you cannot do an assessment while you're doing an obstacle course because you have to participate and you have to help manage that. So how I do a lot of my gross motor assessments is I take my data binder, and I have 3 over here because I've done these every year since I started teaching. It's evolved a little bit, but I love these things. So I will open to my gross motor section, okay? And I have my developmental sequence at the top. So maybe today I want to assess hops. So in my classroom, we always did a transition from music and movement. After that was snack. So they would have to wash their hands in between. So I always did a transition activity, right? Well, why not make the transition activity something you can assess really quickly and easily? So if I'm doing hopping on one leg, I call these quick learning tricks. I would put out one of these on the carpet and I would model it first, and I would say, okay, I want you to stand on, and again, it goes the developmental sequence for hops, and it's all in this, is attempts to hop, hops on one preferred leg, hops 3 to 5 times per foot. So I'm gonna put this in the middle and I'm gonna model it first, right? You gotta model gross motor just like you gotta model the other things. So I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna put one foot up and I'm gonna hop and I'm gonna hop. I'm gonna try and hop 5 times, and everybody can count with you. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're hopping on this with your foot in the middle of a circle, okay? And then literally all I do is I grab my pen and I will say, I will literally start here and go down, or you can start in the middle so you're not starting with the same kid every time. Start here, go down, and then go back to the top. So you can say, okay, Sally, come stand on here and I want you to hop. And she's gonna either attempt to hop on the preferred leg, or if she hops on that leg, you're gonna say, oh, can you try hopping on the other leg too? And you're just gonna mark, oh, she can, oh, she attempted, oh, she's here. And literally, like, Sally, come up and hop. And they're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you mark it. And then, and then Taryn, can you come hop? And then they hop. And then the whole other time, the class is cheering them on because, we have a classroom community and we want to cheer everybody on. And literally they're hopping, and then they go, we always did an animal walk to go wash our hands. So they would do the transition activity, animal walk, and wash hands. So they would hop, animal walk, and wash hands. Because again, I have to do the transition activity anyway. So why not do an assessment and have fun with it, right? So maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're doing hopping. Maybe, and then once I have everyone's hopping done, maybe Thursday, Friday, I'll say, okay, I have a blue puddle. I want to see you jump over it, okay? So, or you can even make the puddle, because the last developmental sequence, and again, it's all in the book, in my assessment book, it says jumps forward 36 inches. So maybe I'm going to cut out a puddle. We're just going to pretend that this is 36 inches, right? I'm not good at measurement. So you guys say, I want you to try and hop over the puddle, okay? And literally you call them up one at a time. They hop over the puddle and say, okay, I'm going to start with 2 feet. I'm going to go 2 feet, jump. And they jump over the puddle. Then you can go down, CJ, come up, and you're going to mark it. Josephine, come up, and you're going to mark it. Again, it's something you already have to do. You already have to do a transition activity. So why not do a quick learning check? And you're sneaking in movement when it's gross motor, okay? I also do throwing and catching, okay? I have the wrong ball. Usually we want to use an 8-inch ball to catch because, our little friends are little. So maybe you want to have them throw it and catch it to you, and you're just going to mark it. Throw it and catch it. Mark it. Maybe, again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're assessing throwing, and the next days you're assessing catching. Throwing's really fun because you can also have them, put a poster or put a bullseye up on your whiteboard, and they can throw it and say, okay, today we're going to throw underhand, and then today we're going to throw overhand. And you can see how they're doing with both of those skills. Again, you have to do transition activity. Why not make it something where you can get an assessment in and do it really, really quick? Okay? I do the same thing for running and balancing. Or running, I just go on the playground and I observe that. And then balancing, again, we stand on our puddle or whatever, and they try to balance, and then they go to snack. okay? Super, super simple. That's how I assess grip motor. Another way you can assess, different skills, again, is doing quick learning checks during transitions. I like using a microphone sometimes. If you say, okay, I want, this friend to come up and I want you to tell me a word that rhymes with whatever. Now, that may not be very engaging for them. And again, you're just gonna open your assessment book up, you're gonna turn to rhyming, and you're gonna have your pen ready, the color that you're gonna use. That way you can mark it down as they go, okay? Now, that doesn't seem very exciting, right? I like to have things in I like to hide things in a bag and say, okay, I want you to find something or think of a word that rhymes with dog. And then they can think of a word that rhymes with dog. Now, again, if they can't, then you can just mark that down, and that's okay. That's just a skill you got to work on. And again, I like McDonald's toys. This is from the dollar store. Dog, bear, snake. Now, if you want them to, if you're assessing if they can recognize if something rhymes or not, you would say, okay, I have this dog. Now, and then call in their name and say, okay, Sally, does dog and pat rhyme? And they're gonna go yes or no, and you gotta go, only the friend I call in has to tell me the secret answer. And then you can say, oh, that doesn't rhyme, or that does rhyme, and you can mark it in your binder. Again, I like hiding things in little bags, and you guys look, I just have literally things I grabbed just from the closet. You can also use these are just things that are really easy to rhyme with: duck, snake, bear, dog, cat. Grab your animals from the block center. It's perfect. Now, you can also assess syllables this way. I like to go shopping for syllables. I like to do cooking syllables. And again, if you watched my syllable video a couple weeks ago, I just make these are just bulletin board decorations. And again, I would turn my assessment notebook open to syllables. And then I have this out in case they want it. They don't have to use it. And I would say, okay, pick something out of this bag and count the syllables. Okay, I picked out a popsicle. And they can either clap it, or they can go popsicle. 3, it has 3. Or they can clap it, popsicle, or they can hum it, however they want, as long as they're counting the syllables. And again, Sally picks popsicle. Okay, great. Go wash your hands for a snack. Oh, and then the next friend picks out pineapple. Okay, how many syllables are in the word pineapple? Pineapple. And then by the way, anytime we do syllables, that friend does it by themselves, and then the whole class tries. So Sally goes pineapple, and I say, okay, everybody try it. Pineapple. And then she goes to snack. The next person comes, donut. So they do it, donut. And then everybody does it, donut. And again, I'm just marking it in my book. And again, food is great. It has a lot of 4-syllable words from your pretend area. Again, animals from the block center. You can put animals in the bag. Whatever, it's just kind of more fun when it's hiding in a bag. Or you can put it in a pot if you're doing food too. Okay? All right, so those are some fun assessments you can do. So again, quick learning checks are great for some skills, for gross motor and some literacy things. Some literacy skills, those are great. Again, one-on-one assessments for identifying letters, numbers, shapes, colors. Those are great for that. And again, sometimes we have to do one-on-one assessments if we're kind of concerned about a kiddo, or maybe we don't think they're growing. Maybe you need to do a one-on-one assessment with them to see if they're growing. Now, I also like to do not one-on-one assessments, whole group assessments. Okay, normally this is in in my file cabinet, but I put it in a crate so you guys can see it. So I literally have all the different assessments, and I just put them in different file folders. Now, maybe you don't want all of these. That's fine. It's no big deal. But I'm going to show you some fun ways to do it. Different assessments to make it more fun. So let's say you're doing a farm theme and you want to assess how they're writing letters, how they're writing numbers, and how they're writing shapes. There's usually always an alphabet book, a shape book, and a counting book with every theme. So I found Farm ABC, Color Farm, which is really, all the different shapes. And then From the Garden is a counting book. Now, you don't have to do it because there's 8. You don't have to do it related to a theme, but I know if you're anything like me, you love using the theme that you're working on anyways, right? We don't want to make assessments extra. We just want to make them add to all this awesome stuff we're already doing. So find the awesome books you're already going to read at Circle and use those for your assessment. So in my crate, I have, where is it? Hold on, trying to find it. Okay, I have writes. I can write lowercase letters. I have it broken up. Okay, so maybe if you want to assess lowercase letters one day and uppercase letters another day, just read 2 ABC books or read a book again, because we know reading books again is great for so many reasons. But maybe, let's say we want to assess writing uppercase letters, okay? So I'm gonna tell everybody, okay, I want everybody to go grab a clipboard. We use clipboards a lot during Circle time. I think it just gives them, like, kids love clipboards. They feel very powerful with clipboards. So they grab a clipboard and they grab one of these and they grab a marker. As I read the book, guess what they're gonna do? A is for awake. Then I say, okay, everybody make an A on your paper. Now, are the 3-year-olds gonna make A's? They may look like A's or they may look like scribbles, but that's still where they're at developmentally, so you want to show that, right? And this is also great because guess what? You can put this in their portfolio, okay? And if you don't do portfolios, you can just send it home, okay? So also, if you want to, you can also say A is for awake and then write an A on your dry erase board. And if they're copying it, that's okay. Just put, copied most words from the board or like put a little, dot in the corner. You know who's copying, but how can they write it, right? Okay, so maybe you're gonna read Farm ABC and they're gonna write their uppercase letters. Now, I know you're thinking you're crazy, like that sounds chaotic. If, again, using clipboards at Circle time, it's just like any other routine. Once they get used to it, it is no big deal. I have a crate of clipboards. I have markers and buckets like this right by my Circle, so they get to pick their marker and it's no big deal. If they're fighting over the colors, I say go find it in the art center. Again, not a big deal. It's like this is his I can write numbers. So we have one from September. And then you can see the next one is October. And then we have January. And then we have May. Like huge growth, right? And again, you read counting books anyways, you read alphabet books anyways. Have them write the letters while you're reading the story. You can have them write the shapes while they're reading the story. Okay, say, oh my gosh, duck or square. Or wait, let me go backwards. I'm on the wrong page. Rooster, what shape do you think is the rooster's head? It was a square. Okay, I'm gonna write a square on the dry erase board. Now you guys write it on your papers. And then they write it. Again, read those awesome books that you're already reading and have them write and draw the shapes during Circle. Again, it's something you're already doing. Just have them write during Circle time. Okay? And then later, what you're gonna do is you're going to get out your assessment book and you're gonna turn to fine motor and you are gonna write down how are they doing drawing shapes, okay? You're gonna write it down. Oh, by the way, this polka dot assessment one was the year COVID happened, so I don't have all the colors in it because school ended early. So, and then you're gonna use that to do what? To make lesson plans, right? To make activities, because this group of kids is attempting to write shapes. This group of kids can make the curvy shapes, and this group of kids is doing really great at writing or at making all the shapes. So again, you use those assessments to guide your small groups and your Circle times. So that's another way. Now, I know you're thinking, I don't want to do that all the time, right? You can also do it during small group. Now, you can use your fine motor journals for assessments because again, it's a work sample, and write down what they're doing in your assessment book. You can also do small groups and do one of my favorite things to do is a self-portrait once a month. Now, another thing to remember during assessments is you don't help them. We want to see what they can do independently. So if they only have a tomato or like a potato man self-portrait, that's okay. So I do one and I do it, you can do it, again, once they do it one time, again, we want to see what they're doing independently. So you can read a book about like an all about me type book and say, okay, we're going to make self-portraits today. Get everybody a clip. Everybody gets their clipboard. Everybody gets their page and they make a picture of themselves. And then at the bottom, they write their name. And I keep them. So we have August, September, and then I just keep all the extras. So that way, again, I'm not wasting paper in my file. Okay. I'm not going to put that back now because I won't be able to find it. And again, you'll be able to see student growth. And then you can also go in your assessment book and write down how they're doing drawing their self-portrait. Self-portrait's also great. If you can also, again, do self-portraits for a small group and then take a picture of their pencil grasp. So just take a picture of their hand drawing their self-portrait. And then you can use that for your pencil grasp assessment. Or open up your assessment book and as they're drawing their self-portraits, because again, you're not helping them because we want to see what they can do independently. You're just going to write down where their pencil grasp is and what their hand preference is, okay? Again, you're already doing it, just write it down. And again, you may miss some people's and that's okay. Just next time you do another drawing, small group, get this back out. I would almost have this with me, my assessment book with me almost all the time at small group because I'm working one-on-one or I can observe and see what they're doing and then I can write it down. Now, again, we don't want to do extra stuff all the time, right? But the cutting sample, I would say that is one that I do that is kind of an extra, right? So I have, where's the paper? Okay, so I can cut lines, and where are my lines? They're there. So during small group, again, cutting is one that I do that's specific because they want to be cutting the same thing so you can see growth. So I say, okay, we're going to cut these lines. And if this is boring to them, let them put stickers on the lines. Also, if you have kiddos who can't cut the lines yet, what you can do is take this page and instead of cutting these big sheets, because usually I would say, okay, pick a color, which one do you want to cut? Have them cut the smaller lines. And then they cut them. And then usually what I do is I glue them on later. So I'll say, okay, cut this out. And then I literally, like, let's say all these are cut. You know, Jackie's cutting her lines. Maybe that one went this way. That's okay. Again, we want to see where they're at. I would literally just take their lines. I would write their name. And I would take this and then I would keep it and I would go glue it later. Because if they glue it down, you may not be able to see the lines. Now, I know you're thinking, but they cut it like this. That's okay, because you know what? That just meant their hand was probably tired. So I would glue these on. You can glue it on the front or the back. And now you have a cutting assessment, okay? And again, I typically let them pick the color and they cut it out, no big deal. If you can also write notes in the bottom or the corner of the white page, that works too. Again, I just have it all here, ready to go. I copy a lot of this at the beginning of the year, so I have it for the whole year. And again, it's already prepped and ready. It's not one extra thing I have to do. Now, I also, and again, as much as I can, try and sneak it in while they're learning. So maybe for a small group, maybe you want to get a write-in sample, right? So maybe for morning arrival time or for a small group, I'm going to set up like a invitation to write. So around the table, I'm gonna put out some different farm paper. Again, we're just going with the farm theme. Some different farm paper, okay? I'm gonna put one piece of paper out at each table, and maybe I'm gonna put out some markers. Maybe I'm gonna put some word cards out, okay? And maybe I'm gonna put their name cards out. And then they're just gonna write or draw. And that can be their writing assessment. It doesn't have to be this big, elaborate thing. Now, if you do journals, writing journals, not fine motor journals. If you're doing writing journals, you can use those. But a lot of times I just put out the themed writing paper that's in my center packs with some stickers, put different pieces of marker on the table, and they just come and they write. And I have like, maybe you could put out family words, so that way if they wanted to copy like mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa, they could put those out. I think I have an example of that in here. Let me find it. And that way, they are just writing. So here is one. I probably did it. It looks like fall. I put out some fall stickers. And so this little guy is writing his development. He's just writing random letters, okay? And that's great. This is his writing sample. And again, I just set up an invitation to write. It's nothing stressful. And then I would just keep those, or you can hang them up and then write where they're at in their data binder. So open up to literacy. And then write where they're at, because it's all the stages of writing at the top, right where they're at. And then next time, if you're doing a small group on writing, if you wanted to group them by ability, now you know where they are. Do you have to group by ability? No, but you can if you want, right? It's good to have different types of groups, right? You want to have mixed ability groups. You want to have groups by interest. You want to have groups by learning style, and you can also have groups by ability. Different activities require different things, or maybe your goals are different too, or your objectives. Again, this is a freebie on my website. This goes with Click, Clack, Moo. These are just some friendly letters. So we read the book Click, Clack, Moo. They get to write a letter to the farmer. Again, I'm gonna put one of these out at every table. You can also put out these letters. If you want them to glue them on, you can put out stamps. And again, just put one piece at every table, and then have these in the middle, and maybe put the Click, Clack, Moo book in the middle. And now you're giving them an invitation to write. Again, it's great activity. It's something you're probably already gonna do anyways, but just keep it, and then you write it down and see where they are developmentally, because now it's an assessment. Again, we don't want extra things to do. We wanna do assessments on what we're already doing. Maybe, and again, I just grabbed my farm theme unit. Maybe for a small group, you are going to, these are like in little bags. Maybe you're going to do this syllable sort, okay? I'm not gonna open it up all the way. We're just gonna pretend, okay? And we're gonna do this activity. We're gonna sort the syllables, right? Raspberry, okay? As we're doing this, I'm gonna have my assessment book open, and I'm gonna be writing down what students can or can't do. Now, once you have that baseline, once you know where they are in August, they may not have advanced, right? That's okay. Like maybe it's only been 2 months since you did the assessment. Maybe they're still at the same level, but maybe Sally's at the same level, but you notice, Charlie, he now can count 3 syllable words, whereas before he could only count 2. So you're just gonna mark that down for him. And again, that's why I use pens, so I know when I did the assessment, okay? Again, this is a small group that's awesome that you're probably already gonna do. Right, just write your notes, have your book out, and write it down in your assessment book. If you're doing a rhyming puzzle, have your assessment book out and write down if you notice that a student is at a different skill or is at a different level. For counting, this is a fun counting game. So they pick a number, okay? They pick a number. Oh, here's my hay. Okay, they pick a number and they have to count out that many, okay? So they'll count out 12, right? And they'll put it on there, and then you can have a little horse and they go, and then they put it back, and then they pick another number. Now, again, open up your data binder. Again, this is a great small group. You're probably already gonna do it. Open up your data binder, turn it to counting. Okay, And maybe you're just gonna check and see if anybody is counting with one-to-one correspondence higher than a number they're already at, okay? And then one thing I like to do with counting, because again, you do parent-teacher conferences, this is also gonna be great for their portfolio. In my assessment pack, I have a lot of rubrics, okay? So at the top, you just write rote counts, and then you write what they're counting to one-to-one correspondence, and then if they know that the last number they counted means how many are in the set, right? Okay, so take a picture of them playing this game, and then you can glue it to the bottom. Okay, now you're not gonna do this during the group, so take the picture during the group, and then when it's your plan time, write down where they are. Because again, you know where they are because it's in your data binder. Write where they are, and then put that picture down there, and that'll show families that we learn through play, but here is your child playing this game, and here are all the skills they're working on, right? Again, play games. You guys are already playing counting games. Already doing that. So write it down. So maybe, again, we're doing our farm theme. Maybe for a small group, you have these veggie counters out and some beans. And maybe they are going to make patterns with the bean, with the manipulatives. Again, this is completely a hands-on activity, right? There is no paper pencil to this, which we teach little learners. We want most of our activities to be hands-on. So what are you going to do to get an assessment? Again, you're already doing these amazing small groups. What can you do? You can observe them, turn to your pattern page, and write it down in your book. I know I have it. Hold on. So you're going to turn to math, and then, here it is. You're just going to write down where they are. And again, different colors just means they were at different levels during the school year, right? And I always put EM for emerging, which means they almost got it. Like maybe they have it sometimes, but then other times they can't do it. So again, you guys are already doing all of these amazing small groups. Just get out your data binder and record it, okay? Okay, so that is almost the end of group one. Or almost the end of the first part of our assessment series. So again, use the things that you guys are already doing in your classroom and just observe it. I also wanted to show you another way that you can observe, which is, and I have these in it's in the pack. I have different observation notes. Maybe you're the type of person, and again, different things work for different teachers. Maybe you just want to write down their name, okay? And you want to write down a skill they're doing. Or maybe you're doing some assessment, or maybe you're doing a small group and you didn't have a plan on assessing anything, but you noticed or you observed a student is doing this. So take the pen, write their name down, and write down that observation. Now you can keep these observation notes on clipboards. I do like keeping some on clipboard so that way the other teachers in your classroom, if they see something that a student is doing that is like, oh my gosh, I have to tell Miss Jackie she did that, or, he did this awesome thing, I want to write it down. Have clipboards somewhere in your classroom for the other teachers on your team so they can help you do assessments, because they're going to see things that you don't see sometimes, because again, our classrooms are busy, everyone is busy, and they're playing with kids, hopefully, in the classroom too. So as they're playing and they notice something or they observe a student has a certain skill, they can write their name down, write the date, and write the skill, okay? I also keep them in the back of my data books. So that way I have them if I'm doing a small group and I wasn't doing an assessment, I can really quick write that note down to myself, right? So again, we're doing all these assessments, but we also want to use them to guide our teaching. So when you are planning I'm just going to cover this up. When you're planning your counting small group, right? So you want to make groups, right? Or maybe you want to give them different games. Maybe you're going to play this horse game, right? And you want to figure out what kiddos need numbers 1 to 10 and what group of kiddos need to have the numbers that go, the teen numbers. So what I would do, because again, I'm going to do this. So I like to use Post-it notes. So I would literally look in my notebook and I would go, okay, these 5 friends are going to be using numbers 1 to 7 or 1 to 10. And then this group of kiddos are going to use numbers, my teen numbers. So maybe that's 2 small groups. Maybe they're set 2 separate sides of the table. So this group is going to have this set of number cards 1 through 10 here. That side of the table is going to have the teen numbers over here. We're all playing the same game, but we're playing it in a way where it's about developmentally appropriate for them, right? Because if you give a student something that's too hard, they're probably going to have a behavior. They're going to be frustrated. Their confidence is going to kind of drain, right? So we want them to do things that are at their academic level or just a little above if we're right there for support. So use your assessments to guide your groups, to guide your lesson plans, to guide your circle times. Maybe you noticed, that a lot of friends are not rote counting. Well, that's probably not the best example. Maybe they're not rote counting to, 20. So find some counting books where they're counting during circle. Or maybe you notice students are struggling with rhyme. Like a lot of your class are not noticing rhymes yet. So you have a lot of 3-year-olds. Maybe they're not noticing rhymes. And you notice that because you notice that from your data. Well, read a lot of rhyming books and really emphasize those rhymes so students can get that skill, right? Because again, if we are working this hard to do the assessments, make sure you're using them to guide your groups, to guide your lesson plans and your activities that are in your classroom. And you can also, I know we talked about self-portraits. What's here there? You can also take any activity that you've done, like the work samples, take this and you can write it down in your assessment book. And again, I'm on counting, but maybe you are going to turn to fine motor and maybe you're going to write down how they're doing developmentally writing, or how each student is doing writing their name, or what stage of drawing they're at. So write it in your book. So take the assessments you're doing, or if you're doing a project or an activity, keep this and write it in your book before you send it home or before you put it in your portfolios. So I hope this helped everyone a lot, and I hope this is going to make assessments a little bit easier in your classroom. In the assessment pack, it also comes with, I forgot to tell you guys this part. In the assessment pack, it comes with all of these pages, okay? Again, I gave you guys a lot of options because, again, different teachers like different things. But I wanted to show you too, like let's say you don't do portfolios. I do have a lot of rubrics. Like this one is the social emotional rubric. So that way, if you want to send this home with families, you can, or you can, if you need to document things for your data, you can watch a student during a couple during the week and notice this. Again, you can also do it as a class in your data binder. But if you wanted to share information with families, I do have rubrics, again, on the math, like the counting one I showed you guys. There's a social emotional, there's a gross motor, there's a fine motor. There's a whole bunch of things in here. Like here's the gross motor one, and I put gross motor and fine motor all together. And like at the top, it says like demonstrated, emerging, and not assessed, because maybe you haven't had time to assess that yet. So you can just mark not assessed, okay? So all of that is in here, everything. Even the lines for the cutting assessments, all of the things are in here. So I hope that helped you guys with assessments. And if you have this, I hope this helped. I hope you guys have an absolutely amazing day or night, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.